This is MadLabyrinth.
Welcome to my new podcast, MadLabyrinth. I've pondered over this for a year now and decided to take the leap. You can say that this is a pilot podcast. So before we start, I wanted to let my audience know a bit about me in case you are new to my channel and don't know who I am. My name is Jay Bannister, and I started MadLabyrinth over a year ago. I'm also a former Toronto police officer with 24 years in the job. I started my career working for the Toronto Police in the homicide unit, working in the wiretap rooms. From there, I was hired in forensics and worked in the photo evidence section, where I assisted with all units within the Toronto Police Service, eventually teaching police officers forensic photography. By trade, I'm a photojournalist, and I've worked for the Toronto Sun and the Globe and Mail as a photographer throughout my career before policing. From forensics, I became a road cop, where I spent the rest of my career. And in 2017, I suffered a lifelong injury to my leg, which ended my career as a road cop. And from there, I was dumped in an office, where I spent the rest of my days doing menial paperwork. In 2023, I finally retired from the Toronto Police. And in the upcoming podcasts, you'll understand why I did, and why I retired 8 years earlier than I was supposed to. This podcast is about police accountability and education when it comes to your rights. We will delve into numerous topics, have guests on, and eventually take questions from the audience. You know, when I was a cop, I had the unfortunate experience to deal with upper management within the Toronto Police. It's extremely difficult to have a conversation with a person in front of you that you just do not respect. It's even harder to have a conversation from someone that's a high-ranking superintendent, inspector, or sergeant, schooling you on what is right and wrong, when you know damn well they are a corrupt person themselves. It sure was for me, as I often would hear certain things about upper management that would make the average person say, "Holy shit." Most times the public have no clue what goes on within the four walls of any police facility within the Toronto Police Service. On this week's first episode of MadLabyrinth, I'm going to delve into a superintendent of the Toronto Police Service. In my career, I have dealt with numerous inspectors and superintendents, and I gotta say that they aren't the brightest when it comes to making the right choices in life. They are no better than a regular beat cop stealing from a person's nightstand. Some others, they're drunks. Some others that I've known are thieves. And others are just straight up corrupt. In a letter dated February 14th, 2025, to the Services Professional Standards Unit, a lawyer for the Toronto Police Association, representing several unnamed officers, asks that the allegations against 55 Division's Superintendent Kim O'Toole be investigated by an outside police service and moved from the Coxwell Avenue location, pending an outcome. Now this week, the association, as well as the Senior Officers Organization, which represents higher-ranking members, including O'Toole herself, both that an investigation is underway by the Ontario Provincial Police. In a statement, Toronto Police Association President Clayton Campbell said the association is aware of several incidents involving O'Toole, which have been reported by named and unnamed sources to the Toronto Police Service. People are afraid to come forward. They don't want to give their name. because the consequences could be bad. The letter, authored by lawyer Sandeep Kera, outlines 4 alleged incidents on behalf of unnamed officers. The most serious of those allegations is that an officer said to be personal friends with O'Toole assaulted a prisoner in a cell and was transferred to another division to allegedly conceal the pending investigation. According to the letter, the alleged assault was captured on video that shows another officer intervening. Now, I wonder if the public is going to be allowed to see that video. I'm guessing not. Multiple officers who were disturbed by the video and what they saw, and those who witnessed the alleged assault, notified another supervisor at the division. Officers were told the matter had been investigated already and were offered no conclusion before the officer in question was transferred. The transfer, the letter claims, was initiated by guess who? Superintendent O'Toole, as a clear effort to stop the investigation dead in its tracks. Now, when this happens, who are the officers supposed to go to? The highest ranking officer in any division within the Toronto Police Service is a superintendent. That's the highest you can go in the division. So who are they supposed to go to? I've had experience myself with an inspector when I was working. If you go against the grain, you are out. And when I questioned this inspector, she transferred me as well to shut me up. It's a common theme within the Toronto Police Service. In a separate complaint, in the letter alleges O'Toole condones drinking alcohol in her office amongst her inner circle, and it is known amongst her colleagues that she keeps a stash of alcohol in her desk and her purse. Many members have experienced being offered a drink of alcohol while in O'Toole's office. Often asked, what is their drink of choice? I wonder if she has a menu. Multiple officers have noted a smell of alcohol emanating from the superintendent's breath while at work. So she's obviously drinking and driving if she's working. I wonder if that was investigated. The letter also alleges tyrannical behavior by O'Toole, targeting officers she dislikes for discipline and protecting those she does like, and refers to a high volume of transfers from that division. It's typical. Another complaint alleges O'Toole orchestrated and approved fraudulent injury claims on behalf of other officers. This is unbelievable. Kera concluded the letter by saying other members approached him with complaints, but that it was impossible for them to come forward without being identified. They're terrified to be identified because they're going to be called a rat, just like I was. They fear reprisal at the hands of Superintendent O'Toole and those who support her. In his statement, Toronto Police Association President Clayton Campbell said they expect the allegations involving senior officers to be investigated as thoroughly as any other member, given the rank and responsibility a senior officer holds in the organization. But we all know that means nothing. Now I'm going to play you a clip from the Toronto Police Facebook page where they had posted a video about International Women's Day, and a few officers, high-ranking officers, including an inspector, were speaking about what they believe and how they feel about their fellow co-workers, women. And it's pretty eye-opening when you hear how blind they are when it comes to the corruption within the Toronto Police.
Currently, I'm in the Homicide and Missing Persons Unit, and I can tell you right now, we're so impressed. I'm so impressed with the skills and abilities of the women that are leaders in the organization.
It's such a phenomenal experience. It's a phenomenal group. And even if you look around today, you can feel the energy. And women are playing such a pivotal role, a crucial role in our leadership and guiding our service.
Not even 5-6 years ago, maybe less than 15% of our leaders at all ranks were women. And now I'm proud to say on the sworn side, almost 30% of our leaders are female. And on the civilian side, it's actually 60%.
You know, and days like this are just those moments because we're so busy in the day-to-day actually doing the work.
The public now are becoming more and more educated on their rights in regards to police. Although the police seem to be ever increasingly arrogant about the view the public have of them. I am not here to have you hate the police. Some police are good, although rare. I focus on the bad seeds in policing, like Kim O'Toole. You see, Superintendent O'Toole is the epitome of a corrupt cop. Just listen to her bullshit when she speaks in this interview in 2021. Cops like her are oblivious and tend to see the public as inferior to her. She believes everyone will buy into her narrative. But behind closed doors is another story. Now, people in power, like Superintendent O'Toole, often remind me of dictators. And we all know dictators often exhibit distinct psychological traits that sets them apart from the general population. These powerful individuals tend to display grandiosity, vindictiveness, and lack of empathy. Sound familiar here? Characteristics commonly associated with narcissistic personality disorder. Dictators frequently see themselves as exceptional, deserving of admiration, and struggle to empathize with others' feelings and needs.
I'm able to do that on occasion to some individuals before they even apply, which I find, such an honor to be able to help someone through that process. And then for them to actually be hired, I teach
talking to the dean.
No. Actually, I was just going to say I teach part-time at the University of Guelph Humber, and I have taught there for 13 years. So in the last 3 years since I have been at the college, the number of my students who I actually taught that ended up in classes of recruits is probably around 6, I think, which is amazing to see them walking in the halls of the college in their uniform when 2 years ago, they were in my class at Guelph Humber.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so good. I'm so happy and so proud for the accomplishments that they have made. We really try to make it a very open and inviting environment for our recruits to be able to get to know their instructors and to be able to ask the questions that they've been wanting to ask for a long, long time. We make it so that it is a safe environment where they are able to grow and develop. And the mentorship is so important. When we now during COVID, we don't have graduation ceremonies because we can't.
Of course.
So I literally hand them their badge and say, good luck. Don't be a stranger. Make sure you come back and visit. And, 3 weeks later, I see one of them in the cafeteria or at the college because they're on a course 6 months later, and they come and they see myself, they see Heather, the inspector, they see Janine, Staff Sergeant Crowley. She impacts their lives in ways that is like truly, literally life-changing.
You see, in Superintendent O'Toole's mind, she is the savior, and without her guidance, no one can succeed. These are the individuals within the Toronto Police Service that oversee all the Toronto police officers. What kind of example is she for someone trying to become a police officer who one day could possibly make a real change on this planet? It's certainly not Superintendent Kim O'Toole of the Toronto Police Service. Police corruption, for the most part, starts at the top and rolls downhill. It doesn't matter if it's Toronto Police or American police. Corruption is corruption, no matter how you look at it. So welcome back to part 2 of the MadLabyrinth podcast. In the next segment, I am speaking to Joshua Thompson, a Toronto stand-up comedian who had the unfortunate experience of being harassed and assaulted by one of Toronto's finest. The same police officer that assaulted Auditing Canada, and his name is C. Langford. He works for the Toronto Police Service in 52 Division. Now, I had Joshua come on the show via telephone where he described the attack and the police officer's tyrant behavior. So in part 2 of my segment, we have a guest. This is actually my first guest. And we have Joshua Thompson. Now, Joshua is a Toronto stand-up comedian. And Joshua had the unfortunate experience of running into a Toronto police constable named Langford. And we all know who Langford is because Auditing Canada was assaulted by Constable Langford. And there will be a lawsuit coming out on that in the near future. So on the line we have Joshua. How's it going, Josh?
It's going very well. How are you doing today, Jay?
I'm excellent. I know that I did a story on you a few weeks ago for my channel.
That's right.
And I just wanted to speak to you in person to get your side of the story and what actually happened down there. Could you, was it the Scotiabank Arena, Josh?
Yeah, it was down at the Scotiabank Arena. Me and my friend there got a couple free tickets from his work, to go check out the Four Nations hockey game.
Okay.
It wasn't necessarily even a hockey game, it was a screening of the hockey game, so there wasn't players, playing on the ice. It was essentially, just we're all looking at the cube screen and watching them play the game in Boston, I think it was.
Okay.
The Four Nations game. So essentially, yeah, we were just down there watching the screening of this other hockey game, and we wanted to go and buy a couple of beers, and we ended up going up to the stand. They were quite expensive. It's like $20 a beer. They want $20 a can of beer, which if you want to be completely honest, I think that's the real crime.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But I told my buddy, I said, don't buy these, don't waste, so much money on, these stupid cans. Like $20 per can is ridiculous. And we bought 2 cans, so it cost us $40. And we get these 2 cans, and we just purchased them. We turn around to go back to our seats, and we're walking when one of the employees stops us, and this guy is saying, hey, gentlemen, you can't be walking around with those. Maybe he overheard me, accosting the business for like saying, what kind of establishment is this? $20 a can of beer. Well,
I don't blame you. That's expensive for a can of, what was it, Coors you were drinking?
Yeah, it actually was a Coors.
Okay.
It's funny you got that. Yeah, which is a Canadian brand, and the whole theme of the night was like Canada first. We're trying to take back Canada. Canada
of course.
But anyways, so this guy decided he was gonna, stop us, and he said, "You can't be walking around with these." Maybe, and he wanted to accost us and say, and we're like, "What do you mean?" And then he said, "Well, these cans need to be opened more. They're not opened enough." And then we're like, "Well, what do you mean? We opened them when we bought them. We just bought them from the kiosk. We have the receipt. Here you can see." And then, we showed them that the cans were in fact open because they're worried about them apparently lobbing, closed cans onto the ice, because apparently that's something people do at hockey games. Like they'll try and attack hockey players with, you know, the cans of beer.
Fair enough.
But this wasn't even that kind of hockey game. It was a screening, so there was no hockey players on the ice. But anyways, we showed him that our cans were in fact open, and then he replied, and you can see this in the first video. He says, "Well, we would like it if it was open more." And then my buddy joked with him, you know, he's British, so get out, you know, he's a British guy. When he asks for a Coke from the store, my buddy Lewis Moulds, he asks for a full-fat Coke. Whatever the fuck that is. He asks for a full-fat Coke. So he's some British guy. He's joking. He's saying, would you like, you know, to drink it for us too? You want us to do all this crap? He's giving us a hard time, so we're messing with him.
Right.
And then he's like, you know what, gentlemen? All right, have a nice night. Enjoy the game. And we go to turn around here. And this is when we meet the star of the show, you know, this I guess his name's C. Langford, 8942.
That's right.
I'm messing it up. It's something like
I believe it's 8932, if I'm not mistaken.
8932, yeah. And he totally goes RoboCop on me, and he just grabs a hold of our shit. Like the cops can't do that, you know, from what I'm understanding, but he just grabs a hold of shit. Like, there's no communication. And then we need to be like, what the fuck's going on? And he's like, you guys are, like, hold on. I pull out my phone right away. I'm like, name and badge number. And he's like, well, he's got our beers in the hands. You can see him put our beers down. He's like, you are being asked to leave. Like, he's just trying to grab me. I'm like, well, you can't just grab me. You know what I mean?
Josh, did he do any sort of investigation prior to?
No investigation. There was no explaining of what crime. I tried to have an opportunity to ask what, you know, I think you're allowed to ask, like, what is the reasonably articulable crime, and they have to be able to, like, express that to you, and I forget what it's called officially, but
of course they do. They have to tell you why you're being investigated, why you're
none of that happened. No, you see everything happen on the video. Like, as soon as we turn around, like, you see me do it. It's funny because in real life, it's really the best video in the world, because there's no fat on the bones, and you're seeing my perspective. It's like POV. It's like a real point of view.
Yep.
And like, I literally spin around on my heel, and as you see the camera turn around, you see this guy grab onto our beers. That's what I'm seeing. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of funhouse fucking world of mirrors are we living in? Some cop grabbing my beers, and he's smiling at us too. He's like, I'm the police. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm Josh. Like,
yeah, I actually saw that. The look in Officer Langford's eyes. He
was having fun with it.
He seemed a little unhinged too, Josh. I don't know. He seemed a little.
Like, we're playing, like, I remember when we were kids and you play a game of grounders or you're playing dodgeball, you see, like, they got that one kid that you gotta watch out. That kid's got a crazy look in his eye. I could see that look in Officer Langford's eye. Like, he was a little unhinged. Like, he was having too much fun.
Okay.
Like, this was more of a game for him than it was a job.
Right.
Like, he wanted to play. He wanted to beat down on Whitey. He liked the idea of having the position of authority and power. So he just grabbed a hold of our beers, and then he's basically like telling us, like, you know, we're gonna talk outside, starts grabbing a hold of me, and I have my phone, and you see me flip my phone around, and I'm recording this guy, and I'm like, you know, showing him, like, talking the camera through it, telling him exactly what's going on. I'm like, and he's trying to, like, he doesn't like that, and I'm like, you're gonna be famous, buddy. And at this point, you know, the video has been seen by 250,000 people online.
Right.
That I can check. Oh, no, that's one. So it's been 353,000 views on one page. Straight out of the 6.
Wow.
So like that. So it's probably got like 1 million views across the internet and all media sources. Like your video alone got, like, what, in the first hour I looked at it when it got uploaded, it got like 1,000 views.
Yeah, it was crazy.
People are gonna be. This is now part of the Canadian conversation. This stupid interaction, and of course it's me, because I'm always like getting into these situations because I'm a funny guy. I'm always poking the bear. I'm always shit talking.
Yeah.
So I'm always starting shit. But I'm never in the wrong, because, you know, we live in a free country and you're allowed to, like, talk shit and whatnot. Like, I never hurt anybody. Like, I never stop and, like, push anybody. I never, like...
You were just trying to drink your beer.
I was just going to drink my goddamn beer. And it was an expensive beer at that. You know, it was a very expensive beer. And, I make my dollars 17 at a time by the hour. You know, like a lot of people in this country that can't even afford a beer like that, to be frank. So you can imagine somebody stealing more than the equivalent of 2 hours of your labor from you right in front of your eyes, and, you know, with complete disregard. They treat you like you're nothing, like you're basically an animal. You know, like, you know, you're just gonna get tossed out and dealt with and just fucking thrown around like some dumb idiot. You know, and maybe
crazy.
he's used to dealing with drunk guys that look like me, because in the last generation back in his day, like guys that looked like me were kind of like fucking retards. But honestly, like, I don't know. I feel like you know, the Irish descendants have kind of gotten their shit together. Like we don't drink, and we're just not like bums like we used to be. Like we actually like are more like, I don't know, my father, if he would have gotten that situation, he would have just took him the beating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I'm not like gonna sit there and like let somebody violate my rights. Like, I'm educated. I come from like a good education. Like, I went to school. Like, I went to university for business. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I'm fully aware of what like people did to get this country's rights, you know, constituted, and what it was for, like, my grandfather went and fought in World War II so that we could have rights. You know what I mean?
100%.
Both sides of my family, actually, and you know what I mean. And we have a nice country for a long time, and it's just completely bullshit. And I'm completely aware, and I may not know down to the T and the letter what the code of the law is, but I know for a fact that you can't just grab a hold of people and throw them around and treat them like a fucking rag doll, you know, because you suspect them of, you know, some kind of thing. And even if there was a crime, or he suspected me of a crime, which he didn't, you know, and it's quite obvious. He might say that he suspected me of something or this and that,
right,
you know, in front of a judge. But let's be real. Anyone that sees that video can see what's going on. Like, and anyone with a shit detector worth its money can, you know, shit detect that. You know what I mean?
Well, when I first made that film, I saw when Langford took your beers, his main goal, and I'm not just saying this to get the audience worked up, but his main goal in my eyes was he just wanted to grab a hold of you and kick you out. That's what I saw.
He wanted to put his hands on me. He wanted to make the situation physical, because he knew that was the realm he was going to win in, because he knew he wasn't going to win in the battle of ideas. He knew he was in the wrong. He knew if I was allowed to talk, that I was going to explain myself and protect myself verbally.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to escalate the situation to a point where it was irreparable, and he could just basically do whatever he wanted with me, get me in handcuffs, take me down to the detainment unit, turn off the good thing they didn't turn off the body cameras. Like, I was talking to the body cameras, telling them to keep them on and stuff, because I was really fucking afraid at one point that they were going to just bring me down into that dungeon and just kind of like
give you a beating.
Off, cameras off. Yeah, like, I was really worried. Like, there was a vibe like that for a second. Like, you could tell they were kind of like thinking, like, what are we going to do with this guy for a second? Like, it wasn't like a totally, like, there wasn't like you know, there was a question. Like, it could have been, you know, something else. Could have been went down a lot worse. Like, maybe I was really lucky.
Joshua, can you take us through what happened next after he took your beers from you?
Well, essentially, he grabbed me by the back of my scruff, and he starts pushing me down the hallway. And then you can see that it does the same tactic on my friend, but he's essentially pushing against me, saying that we're resisting, you know, saying that we're not going along with him because he's pushing us. So if you're walking with a cop and they're pushing your back, you're supposed to walk with their hand. You know, they're pushing you. You're not supposed to be forcing yourself back. But if he's pushing into you and saying that you're forcing yourself back because he's pushing into you, that's gaslighting. You know, that's twisting.
I saw that.
You know, that's lying. And what happens with that is, you know, he basically, like, it gives him the right to beat people. It gives him the right to, like, he can just decide whoever he wants to.
In his mind, yes. Not legally.
Not in the judge, not in the court of law. Maybe a judge would look at that differently.
Right.
But he thinks it gives him enough coverage that he can get away with it.
Of course.
He could just say that, like, oh, well, he was resisting. But you can clearly see him pushing me. And then there's one point where, you know, he throws me outside and he says, okay, and I'm outside, I'm waiting for my friend, and you can see my friend gets pushed through the door next. And then we have a re-engagement, and I said, good boy. He said, you don't call somebody boy. And then he says, actually, the property ends over here. And then he grabs me again. And this is when he really, like, threw me on the ground and whatnot. But before that, he's basically doing the same thing. But I said, like, what are you doing? Like, you already kicked me out. Like, I said, buddy, you're going to be famous. And he's like, okay. And that's when he basically, like, punches me in the back of the neck. Like, he didn't punch me in the back of the neck, but he well, I don't know what else to call it. Like, something between a punch and a push. You know what I mean? He, like, nailed me hard. He pushed me hard.
In the back of your head?
In the back of my head.
Okay.
And basically was like, that's me resisting. And at that point, he's saying, like, you're going to be under arrest. You're going to be under arrest. So, like, I'm like, I see the door. He's giving me a slight opening. He just pushed me pretty hard. I'm like, I could probably try and make a break for it and run. So I'm like, I probably try and break free from him, you know? And that's kind of what I did. I tried to break free, and I was going to make a mad dash for it and just kind of escape. But, you know, he ended up grabbing a hold of my cuff in my hand, and he was able to stop me from running. And he throws me onto the ground.
I saw that. That was...
Yeah, he says, you're under arrest. So he put me in like a fight or flight mode, and I was like, fuck that, I'm not going to let this guy abuse me, and I have a chance to make a run for it. I don't give a fuck about, you know, this guy clearly doesn't care about the books that much. Why should I? It's like, I got to get out of this situation, you know?
Yep.
And at that point, you're not even thinking that clearly. You're just kind of like, holy shit, like, this guy's like, could be trying to beat me, and like, you know what I mean? You're scared for your life at that point.
Well, he had that crazy look in his eyes, and I can just imagine how it felt for you being there
it was
with
scary.
him.
It was actually fucking scary. It was legit. And I'll be honest, he wasn't the biggest guy in the world, okay? That badge was holding a lot of weight for him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not that big and tough of a guy, but at that point, like, think about this. Like, I'm afraid of a cop beating me. Like, that's such a situation. Like, you don't want to be afraid to get in trouble with the law. You don't want to get hurt. There's so many things. Like, in that moment, like when a cop's corrupted like that, and it twists like what you feel is right and wrong to do in that situation, it fucks with your head, man. Like, he's honestly lucky I didn't like turn around and like attack him or something, because I was in such a state of like stress from what he was putting me through. Like, I was in such a heightened state, but I knew to like just kind of like, you know, I'm a Christian. I stayed calm and just kind of like let him put his knee on my neck and whatnot, and press me down. And like, he was trying to grab my phone. Like, he made a big point. Like, I knew my phone, like, he could record, and like, I locked that shit before he could, you know, he could take it from me, because I knew he would have tried and deleted it.
I think a lot of people who
the
watch...
first thing he went for was my phone.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who watch the video, Josh, when he actually had you on the ground, and quite a few people had commented and emailed me regarding that.
Yeah.
He wasn't, he threw you on the ground, but what I was surprised at is he actually mounted you like a UFC fighter, and and he was on top of you for a good 10-15 seconds saying things.
Get my leg over my hip,
like
my other leg, so that I could properly lay down. And like, I knew he was gonna put me in a weird situation where I was just gonna feel shitty. So I quickly like flipped my leg over when his partner came over and was like trying to like help. You know what I mean? And his partner was kind of a guardian angel in a sense, because you could, in every way that he was trying to escalate the situation, you could tell. Listen, that's the sound of the police right there.
They're coming to get you.
And they're coming to get me. In every situation, I felt like he was kind of like trying to be like my protector. He was trying to like, he was aware that something was happening.
I saw that. I did. I saw that.
He was aware that this guy was a little crazy, and he was like kind of like over watching the situation like a bigger brother. Like, he was kind of like, okay, well, where's your coat? And then my friend started an interview with him, and you can see on my friend's video, which is like a different angle of the camera, but he basically like ran away from the interview to like come up and check up on me and like see what his partner was doing when he threw me on the ground and started putting me in handcuffs and arresting me. And he also like, he was when we were walking down to the hallway and whatnot, like, he wasn't like hurting my fingers. Like, Langford was trying to like hurt me and like do these things. He was like grabbing the back of my hands, doing all these things.
Wow.
But he was just like being like totally like being like looking at me, like trying to be like, don't worry, like, I'm gonna get you through this. Like, and I don't know, like, and then even when we got down there, he untightened my handcuffs for me. You know what I mean? He was kind of like laughing along, trying to de-escalate the situation, trying to make it more light. You know, like, in every way he could. You know, there is some good cops.
Yeah, of course there are.
Like, it was kind of amazing to see, like, that kind of, you know, in the interplay of, you know...
Good cop, bad cop.
Evil, in the interplay of good versus evil, it was like, it was really... Maybe it was, like, a part of their thing. Maybe it was, like, good cop, bad cop. But he was honestly, like, I felt like he was a saint in that moment.
Joshua, I know previously we had a conversation after it happened, and I was telling you about David Menzies from Rebel News and how he was arrested and the fire, they put the handcuffs on David Menzies so tightly that the Toronto Fire Department had to come to the station where he was at.
That's crazy.
And cut, they had to cut the handcuffs off him.
So tight that they had to do that.
Because they wanted to torture David, and that's
fucked
yeah,
up.
that's why they call them torture cuffs, because they can squeeze them so hard, and there's no way of loosening them. Sometimes when you put the key in, when they're so hard, they won't crack because there's no play.
God.
Yeah, so when
Did he have any injuries from that?
well, his wrists were very sore, but when Officer Langford put the cuffs on me, were they tight or were they loose or what?
They were pretty okay. Like, it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
Like, I'll be honest. It was more of him twisting my hands with his hands. Like, he was grabbing my fingers and twisting
While you were
my
handcuffed.
While I was handcuffed, yeah,
Okay.
we're walking down the detainment. And it reminded me of, like, when you're in school and, like, some kids, like, who can't, like, hurt you. They, like, try and grab your fingers and, like, twist them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Like, some wimpy kid will try and do that to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's something like kids do. Like, something that we used to do in elementary, grab a kid's fingers and twist them. Like, he was doing that to me as, like, an adult male that was a cop that had me in handcuffs.
That's just crazy.
I mean?
That's
like,
crazy.
It was kind of fucking crazy. It was kind of nuts, like, honestly.
So, Josh, what happened after he handcuffed you? Where did he take you?
He took me down into the belly of the beast. It was like some dungeon or something. It was like underneath Scotiabank.
Okay.
Like a dungeon or something.
The caverns of Toronto.
Yeah, underneath Scotiabank, there's like these, I don't know, these entrails of tunnels, and they take you down and you go down. I think there was an elevator at some point.
Right.
And they bring you down, and there's all these cops, and they're running around, you know, eating donuts and stuff. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, the donut factory.
And there's like all these different like holes. There's all these different rooms that they could take me into, though. And they're kind of like eyeing the rooms. Like they don't know which one they're gonna take me into. It's like
That's really strange. That's really
they're
strange.
gonna torture me. Like, what's in each room? Like,
Wow.
I was afraid when they were looking at some of the doors. I was like scared. Like,
It's like Pulp Fiction and the Gimp.
oh my gosh, it was fucking weird, man. It was fucking scary. And they were like totally like, so he was twisting my finger, and they were saying things to other guys, like they were talking in code, like they weren't speaking blatantly.
Right.
Like they were just like, yeah, we're not, oh yeah, okay, yeah, just nodding at each other and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, are they gonna go like? There was like a choice. It felt like a decision could have been made, where they were like, yeah, we're gonna turn off the fucking body cams and get this guy. But like, I don't know, like I feel like I'm a bit too like. I'm not big. I wasn't an asshole enough to get that kind of treatment.
Right.
I feel like that's something they do reserve, but I feel like they spared me. Like they like I'm only 26. Like I'm not like Jesus. I'm like, you're gonna beat a 26-year-old dude like who I don't have any record. I got nothing. Like, Jesus Christ.
It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad though, Josh, when you.
I'm a pretty innocent looking guy. Like I'm a pretty humble dude. Like I'm not like a big bad, you know, the wolf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's some tough guys around here. I'm not the toughest guy around. It's like, Jesus, they're really like skimping the bottom of the, like, I'm not the bottom of the barrel, but I mean, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow. So after that, they arrested you and they released you, obviously. When they released you, Joshua, what did they release you on? Did they release you on a form? Do you have to attend court?
Well, they gave me a ticket, but this ticket, you know, I was supposed to be able to go online and get a court date, but it never worked. The numbers I put in the system that are on the ticket, they don't work. They say there's no case found. I haven't tried to pay the ticket. I was thinking about, I'm going to sign it and bring it into the court and sign it and tell them I want a court date. But it's been past the 15-day mark, and honestly, I'm not too worried about, you know, the fine. And they charged me with the trespass, right? But I was going to fight that, you know, but I'm just not paying it. I don't think it's in the system because I don't think they entered it in the system or something. I don't know if they were embarrassed or, like, if it was just, like, bad paper trail. Like, I don't fucking know. But maybe it's actually in there and I'm supposed to go pay it or something. But it says if I was supposed to be able to go and do a court case lookup.
Right.
And it said court case not found, and I've searched it like 100 times. Like I kept going back every day to like see if it updated.
I can help you with that, Joshua. After we speak, I can definitely help you with that. But did you suffer any injuries because of this?
Yeah, man, I got a wicked wound on my arm that's still closing up. It's oozing freaking pus as we speak. I have to clean this thing out like twice a day. and I've been healing up for the past 20 days with this crap. I don't know what's going on that, Jesus, it's taking so long to heal. It was a pretty big wound, I'm not gonna lie.
And that happened in the hallway when Langford took you down?
I was wearing a t-shirt and it was like pavement, okay, and there was like a bunch of dirt on the
It's
ground.
really dirty there in the hallway, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I hit the ground pretty friggin' hard, so like,
Yeah.
And it just tore my skin, like totally, like didn't like bruise or not, like it just tore the skin off. I'm a pretty heavy guy, like I weigh 230 pounds, like I can come down pretty friggin' hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you entertaining a possible lawsuit, Joshua?
Yeah, I am. I'm looking into it. I mean, I've already drafted my own versions of a lawsuit, but lawyers can be pretty expensive. Right now I'm determining whether or not I'm eligible for legal aid.
Okay.
I think I am. I may not be though. It's pretty stringent, the requirements. You have to, if you make a certain amount of money, you're not eligible. I'm a pretty guy, modest means, so I think I can go for it. But if that doesn't work, I'm just going to represent myself. With the internet and all the the resources we have at our disposal, I think I can make a pretty basic case. Like I think if a judge sees my evidence, like they'll quickly come to the conclusion. And if not, if I really can't argue this case for our fundamental rights and freedoms, even like without a lawyer, to be honest with you, I think we got bigger problems. Like I should be able to make my case here. Like I really think I should. And if I'm wrong, like I said, I really I think maybe it's time we gotta, I don't know. Well, who knows?
Well, I know you're not.
Yeah. The tree of liberty is nourished with the blood of patriots, and it's its natural manure. And there comes a time when
said,
patriots need to make sacrifices, and I don't know what time it is, but Jesus.
Well, hopefully, a lawyer will be listening to my podcast and might possibly want to take your case on. Yeah. So, like I said, it's great to have you on, Joshua. Thank you for the story.
Thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate.
No problem. And for the.
I really appreciate you doing this investigation.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Taking an interest and being there as an ally in this situation. It's meant a lot.
My pleasure.
You've been a huge. Sorry.
Awesome. So we have Joshua Thompson on the line, folks. He's a Toronto stand-up comedian. He's a very funny guy. In the future, if you're ever in Toronto, and he makes it big, go check out Joshua Thompson. Thanks, sir. Have a great day. Okay.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Jay. Have a beautiful day. This has been great. Take care.